My sister-in-law's kids mocked my autistic daughter at dinner and posted it online. I stayed quiet, but made one call that left them begging for forgiveness. When confronted, my sister-in-law simply shrugged, saying, "They're just kids, get over it." My mother-in-law then scoffed, "Someone's trying to be a good parent." Everyone in the room laughed at the video, while my daughter sat there confused and hurt. I met my daughter's gaze and softly said, "I'm so sorry, baby. Mommy's going to fix this." I didn't raise my voice. I just calmly gathered our belongings and we left that evening. Later that night, I made a single phone call that prompted their desperate pleas for forgiveness. I never imagined myself as someone who would plot retribution, yet parenthood transforms you in unforeseen ways. When your child is harmed, especially a vulnerable and trusting one like my daughter, Lily, something primal stirs within you. What transpired at my in-laws' home that Sunday in March irrevocably altered everything between my husband's family and me. Let me explain from the beginning. My name is Elena, and I have been married to my husband, Brian, for 8 years. We have one daughter, Lily, who is 7 years old and has autism. Lily is the essence of our lives. She is brilliant, joyful, and perceives the world in the most beautiful manner. She certainly faces challenges, but she has made remarkable strides with her therapies and navigates social situations far better than when she was younger. Brian's family has always been intricate. His mother, Patricia, is one of those women convinced she knows best about everything, and she is quite vocal about her opinions. She has never fully accepted Lily's diagnosis, often remarking about how we pamper her or how she appears normal to Patricia. Brian's sister, Jennifer, is married to Mike and they have 3 children. Tyler 12, Madison 10, and Connor 8. Jennifer has always been the favored child, and her children can do no wrong in Patricia's estimation. The bond between Lily and her cousins has always been strained. Tyler and Madison, being older, frequently treated Lily as though she were much younger, speaking down to her or excluding her from their games. Connor, closer in age, was occasionally kinder but often followed his older siblings' lead. Lily, bless her heart, always strove to blend in and participate, desperately wanting her cousin's acceptance. Brian and I had discussed our concerns about the family dynamics before, but he consistently dismissed them. "They're just kids," he would say, echoing what would later be his sister's defense. "Lily needs to learn to handle different personalities." I attempted to explain that Lily's autism made it more difficult for her to grasp when she was being ridiculed or excluded, but Brian seemed to believe I was being overly protective. The Sunday that shifted everything began like any other family dinner. Patricia had insisted we come over for her renowned pot roast, and despite my reservations, Brian had accepted for us. Lily had been enjoying a particularly good week. She had made a new friend at school and was eager to tell her cousins about it. She had even chosen a special outfit, her favorite purple dress adorned with sparkly unicorns. Upon our arrival at Patricia's house, the usual commotion unfolded. Tyler and Madison were absorbed in their phones, barely acknowledging our presence. Connor was engrossed in a loud video game in the living room. Jennifer was in the kitchen with Patricia, both of them gossiping about someone from Jennifer's neighborhood. Mike occupied his usual spot on the recliner, beer in hand, watching sports on television. Lily immediately gravitated toward her cousins, as was her custom. She tried to show Tyler her new drawing from art class, a beautiful picture of our family she had labored on for hours. Tyler glanced at it for approximately 2 seconds before returning his attention to his phone. "That's nice, Lily," he remarked with a condescending tone that infuriated me. "Tyler, look at the details she put into it," I urged, trying to encourage some genuine interaction. "She spent so much time on Daddy's glasses." Tyler looked up again, this time with a smirk. "Yeah, it's very artistic," he said, and Madison giggled. Lily beamed, missing the sarcasm that was evident to everyone else in the room. During dinner, things initially seemed to proceed relatively well. Lily sat between Brian and me, carefully eating her food in her preferred manner, one item at a time with nothing touching. Patricia made her customary comment about Lily's distinct eating habits, but I let it pass. Lily chatted happily about her week, telling everyone about her new friend, Sophie, and how they played together during recess. "Sophie has autism too," Lily announced proudly. "We understand each other really well." The table fell silent for a moment. Patricia pursed her lips. "Well, that's nice, dear," she said in a tone that implied the opposite. Jennifer interjected. "It's great that Lily has found someone on her level." And I noted the subtle implication in her words. Brian either did not notice or chose to disregard it. After dinner, the adults settled in the living room while the children went upstairs to play. I was relieved Lily was included, though a persistent feeling of unease lingered in the back of my mind. Approximately 30 minutes later, I heard Lily's voice from upstairs, accompanied by the sounds of the other children talking and laughing. "Come on, Lily, put this on," I heard Madison say. "It's just a game," Tyler added. "Everyone has to wear something silly." Lily's voice was hesitant. "I don't know, it feels weird." "Don't be a baby," Connor chimed in. "It's fun." I was about to rise to check on them when Lily came downstairs wearing a peculiar contraption on her head. It appeared to be a hat with wires protruding from it, connected to what looked like Christmas lights. The other children trailed behind her, barely suppressing their laughter. "Look what we made," Madison announced. "It's a special thinking cap for Lily." Lily stood there, bewildered but attempting to be a good sport. The lights on her head blinked in a rapid, chaotic pattern. Tyler held up his phone, recording. "Tell everyone what the hat does, Lily," Tyler instructed, his phone still filming. Lily, trusting and eager to please, repeated what they had clearly told her to say. "It's a thinking cap that helps me think better because my brain works different." The other children burst into laughter. Tyler continued recording, and I could see him struggling to contain his giggles as he filmed Lily, standing in this ridiculous device, oblivious that she was the target of their joke. "Lily, sweetheart, take that off," I said firmly, my maternal instincts asserting themselves. "But we're playing a game," Lily protested, still uncomprehending. I walked over and gently removed the contraption from her head. As I examined it more closely, I realized what it was. They had disassembled an old electronic toy and reconfigured it to resemble a medical device. The thinking cap was clearly intended to mock Lily's autism, making her appear like some kind of experiment or flawed toy in need of repair. "What exactly is this game?" I asked, my voice dangerously calm. Madison and Connor exchanged nervous glances, but Tyler simply shrugged. "It's just a joke. We were pretending Lily had this special hat that made her brain work normal." The room fell into complete silence. Brian stared at his nephew, mouth agape. Even Mike had looked up from his beer. "Tyler, that's not appropriate," Brian finally managed, but his voice lacked any true authority. Tyler rolled his eyes. "It's just a prank. She didn't even know." "That's exactly the problem," I retorted, my voice growing sharper. "She trusted you, and you made her the target of a cruel joke." Jennifer finally spoke from her spot on the couch. "Elena, they're just being kids. You're making a big deal out of nothing." "Nothing," I repeated, incredulous. "Your son just filmed my daughter wearing a mock medical device while making fun of her disability, and you think that's nothing?" "It wasn't making fun of her," Madison protested. "We were trying to help her think better." The innocence in Madison's voice made it even worse. They genuinely did not understand their cruelty, which meant the adults in their lives had failed to instill basic empathy and respect. Patricia chimed in from her armchair. "Someone's trying to be a good parent," she sneered. "Maybe if you didn't make such a big deal about Lily's condition, the kids wouldn't even notice it." The room erupted in nervous laughter. Brian's face was flushed, but he remained silent, offering no defense for Lily or me. Mike chuckled and shook his head. Jennifer smirked, clearly pleased that her mother-in-law supported her. Meanwhile, Lily stood in the center of the room, the blinking contraption now in my hands, looking around at all the laughing adults. Her face displayed that confused, hurt expression I had witnessed too many times before, the look she got when she knew something was wrong but could not quite grasp what. Tyler, emboldened by the adults' reaction, held up his phone. "I already posted it," he announced proudly. "It's on my Instagram. It's already got like 20 likes." My blood ran cold. "You posted this online?" "Yeah, it's hilarious. Look at the comments." He showed his phone around the room, and I could hear people laughing at the comments left about my daughter. I looked at Lily, who was now beginning to understand that she had been the target of something unkind. Her eyes welled with tears, but she struggled to hold them back. My heart shattered into a million pieces. I knelt in front of my daughter, blocking out the laughter and comments from the rest of the room. "I'm so sorry, baby," I whispered. "Mommy's going to fix this." Lily nodded, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. "Can we go home now, Mommy?" "Yes, sweetheart, we're leaving right now." I stood up and surveyed the room. Brian was finally starting to appear uneasy, but he still had not uttered a single word to defend his daughter. Patricia whispered something to Jennifer, both of them stealing glances at Lily and me. Mike had returned to his beer and the television. The children continued giggling and looking at Tyler's phone. "Brian, get Lily's coat," I said quietly. "Elena, maybe we should." Brian began. "Get her coat now." Something in my tone must have reached him, because he immediately went to retrieve Lily's things. I helped Lily put on her jacket, my hands trembling with suppressed fury. "You're really going to make a scene over this?" Jennifer called out as we moved toward the door. I turned back to face her. "The only scene here was your children humiliating my daughter, and you defending it." "They're just kids," she repeated, as if reiterating it would make it acceptable. "So is Lily," I replied, "and she deserved better from her family." Patricia rose from her chair. "You're being ridiculous, Elena. Lily needs to learn that the world isn't going to coddle her forever." I looked at this woman who had been my mother-in-law for 8 years, who had helped Lily as a baby, who had supposedly loved her. And Lily needed to learn that tonight? By being tricked into wearing a mock medical device, while her cousins filmed her for social media. "Oh, please," Patricia waved her hand dismissively. It was harmless fun. The drive home was silent, save for Lily's quiet sniffles from the back seat. Brian kept glancing at me, clearly wanting to say something, but I was not ready to hear it. When we arrived home, I helped Lily get ready for bed, read her an extra story, and held her until she fell asleep. Brian waited for me in the living room when I came downstairs. "Elena, I know tonight was..." "Don't," I interrupted. "Just don't. They're kids, Elena. They didn't mean to hurt Lily." There it was again, the same excuse, the same dismissive attitude. "Tyler is 12 years old, Brian. He's old enough to know that making fun of someone's disability is wrong, and he posted it online for everyone to see. I'll talk to Jennifer about having him take it down." "You'll talk to Jennifer?" I stared at my husband in disbelief. "Your daughter was humiliated tonight, and you sat there and said nothing. Your mother insulted my parenting, your sister dismissed our concerns, and your nephew broadcast our daughter's humiliation to the internet. And your solution is to have a conversation with Jennifer." Brian ran his hands through his hair. "What do you want me to do, Elena? Start a war with my family? I want you to protect your daughter. I want you to stand up for her when she can't stand up for herself. I want you to be her father." We argued for another hour, but it became clear that Brian could not, or would not, see the gravity of the situation. He was more concerned with maintaining peace with his family than protecting Lily's dignity. That night, after Brian went to bed, I sat in my home office and conducted some research. I located Tyler's Instagram account and found the video. It had been viewed over 200 times and had dozens of comments, most of them laughing at Lily. My heart broke anew. My innocent daughter mocked by strangers on the internet. But as I scrolled through the comments, I noticed something intriguing. Several people had tagged someone named at Autism Awareness Jennifer in their comments. Curious, I clicked on the profile. It was Jennifer's Instagram account, but not her personal one. This was a professional account where she presented herself as an autism awareness advocate. She had thousands of followers and dozens of posts about autism acceptance, neurodiversity, and anti-bullying. Her bio read, "Autism Mom Advocate spreading awareness and acceptance #autism awareness #neurodiversity matters." I scrolled through her posts, growing more incredulous by the minute. Jennifer had been building a brand around autism advocacy, sharing inspirational quotes about accepting differences, posting about anti-bullying campaigns, and even sharing resources for families with autistic children. Many of her posts had hundreds of likes and comments from other parents thanking her for her advocacy work. The irony was staggering. Here was Jennifer presenting herself as an autism advocate online, while her children were literally bullying my autistic daughter in real life, with her full knowledge and approval. I took screenshots of everything. the original video Tyler had posted, all the comments, Jennifer's advocacy account, her posts about autism acceptance and anti-bullying. I documented everything meticulously, ensuring I captured the timestamps and context. Then I did something I had never done before in my life. I formulated a detailed plan for retribution. I began by contacting some of the autism advocacy organizations Jennifer had tagged in her posts. I sent them screenshots of the video Tyler had posted, along with screenshots of Jennifer's advocacy account. I explained the situation, how Jennifer's children had bullied my autistic daughter, how Jennifer had dismissed it as just children being children, and how she was simultaneously profiting from autism advocacy online. The response was immediate and overwhelming. These organizations take advocacy very seriously, especially when it comes to safeguarding vulnerable individuals. Within hours, several major autism advocacy groups had shared my screenshots on their own social media accounts, calling out the hypocrisy and urging their followers to report the original video for bullying. But that was just the beginning. I also reached out to the parents of the children at Lily's school. Our school has a very active parent community, and many of them followed Jennifer's advocacy account because she had positioned herself as a local autism expert. When they witnessed the evidence of what Jennifer's children had done to Lily, and how Jennifer had responded, they were horrified. The school principal, Mrs. Rodriguez, was particularly upset when she saw the evidence. She had actually invited Jennifer to participate in school diversity discussions after several parents recommended her, based on Jennifer's online reputation as an advocate. When she saw the video and Jennifer's response, she immediately removed Jennifer from all school volunteer opportunities and canceled an upcoming presentation Jennifer was scheduled to give during Autism Awareness Month. I also contacted the local news station. They had recently featured a story on Jennifer's advocacy work, presenting her as a local hero making a difference in the autism community. When I presented them with the evidence of what had truly occurred, they were very interested in doing a follow-up story. But the most effective part of my strategy was contacting Jennifer's employer. Jennifer worked for a large healthcare company that prided itself on diversity and inclusion initiatives. Her supervisor was shocked to learn that one of their employees, who had been representing herself as an autism advocate, was actually condoning the bullying of autistic children. Within 48 hours of that Sunday dinner, Jennifer's carefully constructed online persona began to unravel. The autism advocacy organization she had been associated with publicly distanced themselves from her. Parents at Lily's school began sharing the story, and it quickly spread through our community. The local news station ran a story about fake advocates in the autism community, using Jennifer as a prime example. Jennifer's employer launched an investigation into whether her actions violated the company's code of conduct and diversity policies. A week later, after the investigation concluded, they terminated her employment. The turning point came when one of Jennifer's own colleagues, who had an autistic son, saw the video and Jennifer's response. This colleague had been following Jennifer's advocacy account and had even asked Jennifer for advice about his son. When he realized that Jennifer was a fraud, he shared the story with his own network, which included several prominent autism advocates and researchers. By Wednesday morning, Jennifer's advocacy account had lost over half of its followers. The comments on her posts were no longer supportive. They were people calling her out for her hypocrisy and sharing Lily's story. Someone had created a hashtag #ExposeHypocrisy, that was gaining traction in our local parenting groups and autism advocacy circles. That is when my phone started ringing. The first call was from Brian. He was at work and sounded panicked. "Elena, what did you do? Jennifer is calling me crying, saying her whole life is falling apart." I documented what happened and shared it with people who care about protecting autistic children. I replied calmly. "You ruined her career." "No, Brian. Her actions ruined her career. I just made sure people knew the truth about who she really is." The second call was from Patricia. She was furious, screaming about how I had destroyed the family and demanding that I fix this mess. I listened to her rant for about 30 seconds before ending the call. The third call was from Jennifer herself. She was sobbing, pleading with me to help her undo the damage. "Please, Elena, I'll make the kids apologize. I'll have Tyler delete the video. Just please make this stop." "It's too late for that, Jennifer. You should have thought about the consequences when you decided to defend your children bullying Lily. I didn't know it would go this far, she sobbed. I never meant for Lily to get hurt. Yes, you did, I said quietly. You meant for her to be hurt, and you meant for it to not matter. You thought because Lily is autistic and different, it was okay for your kids to make fun of her. You thought her feelings didn't count. That's not true. Then why didn't you stop them? Why? Didn't you make them apologize? Why did you tell me to get over it when I confronted you? Jennifer could not answer that question because we both knew the truth. The calls kept coming. Mike called to yell at me. Tyler called, crying, saying children at school were making fun of him. Madison called, asking why everyone was being mean to her mom. Between the phone calls, I received messages and emails from people I had not heard from in years. Some were supportive, old friends from college who had seen the story spreading on social media, and wanted to tell me they were proud of me for standing up for Lily. Others were less kind, distant relatives and acquaintances who thought I had gone too far, and should have handled it privately. One particularly nasty email came from Patricia's sister, Margaret, whom I had met perhaps 3 times in 8 years of marriage. She accused me of being vengeful and destroying a good family over something insignificant. She wrote that Lily needed to learn to toughen up, and that I was doing her a disservice by coddling her. I deleted the email without responding, but it stung nonetheless. What surprised me most were the messages from other parents in similar situations. A woman named Lisa reached out to tell me about her own autistic son, who had been bullied by his cousins at family gatherings, and how her in-laws had dismissed it the same way. She said seeing Lily's story had given her the courage to finally establish boundaries with her husband's family. Another mother, Carol, shared that her daughter with ADHD had been consistently mocked and excluded by extended family members who claimed she was simply hyperactive and needed more discipline. Carol had been suffering in silence, trying to maintain peace, until she saw how I had managed our situation. These messages reminded me why I had taken such drastic action. This was not just about Lily. It was about every vulnerable child who had been dismissed, mocked, or hurt by family members who should have been protecting them. I also received several messages from autism advocates and researchers who thanked me for exposing Jennifer's hypocrisy. One particularly touching email came from Dr. Amanda Roberts, a leading autism researcher whose work I had followed for years. She explained that fake advocates like Jennifer were actually detrimental to the autism community because they disseminated misinformation and offered families false hope, all while perpetuating harmful stereotypes. Dr. Roberts invited me to speak at an upcoming conference about authentic advocacy versus performative allyship. She said Lily's story was a perfect example of why the autism community needed to be vigilant about who they trusted with their platforms and their narratives. On Wednesday night, I received a call from Lily's therapist, Miss Claire Bennett. She had heard about what happened through the parent network at Lily's school and wanted to check in on how Lily was processing everything. How is she handling the knowledge that her cousins were being mean to her? Ms. Bennett asked during our phone conversation. She seems to understand it on an intellectual level, I explained. She keeps saying that what they did wasn't fair, and that she hopes they learn to be nicer. But I can tell she's still confused about why they would want to hurt her when she was trying so hard to be their friend. Miss Bennett sighed. That's one of the hardest parts of autism for families to navigate. Children like Lily have such pure intentions and a genuine desire for connection. When that trust is betrayed, especially by family members, it can be really damaging. She recommended that we schedule some additional sessions focused on helping Lily understand that the problem was not with her, but with people who do not know how to appreciate differences. She also suggested some role-playing exercises to help Lily recognize when someone might be making fun of her versus genuinely including her. What you did was important, Elena, Miss Bennett told me before we ended the call. Lily needed to see that her parents would fight for her dignity. Too many autistic children grow up thinking they have to accept mistreatment because they're different. Meanwhile, the repercussions for Jennifer continued to mount. I learned from a mutual acquaintance that Jennifer's husband, Mike, was furious with her, not because of what their children had done, but because her response to the situation had caused them financial distress. Mike worked in construction, and many of his clients were people from our community who had seen the story. Several had canceled projects with his company, stating they did not want to conduct business with someone whose family bullied disabled children. Tyler faced consequences at school beyond just sensitivity training. Several parents had complained to the administration about the video, and the school had launched an investigation into cyberbullying. Tyler's phone had been confiscated, and he was facing possible suspension if the investigation found that he had violated the school's anti-bullying policies. Madison and Connor were also struggling, though in different ways. Madison, being 10, was old enough to understand that what they had done was wrong, but she was also angry at being associated with Tyler's actions. Connor, at 8, was mostly just confused about why everyone was upset and why they could not see cousin Lily anymore. The ripple effects extended beyond just our immediate families. Patricia's church group, where she had been very active, was having discussions about the situation. Several members had expressed concern about Patricia's attitude toward her granddaughter's disability, and the pastor had apparently suggested that Patricia might benefit from some education about autism and compassion. Jennifer's neighborhood was also abuzz with gossip. She had been quite visible in local mom groups and community organizations, often positioning herself as an expert on children's issues because of her online advocacy work. Now, those same groups were reevaluating everything she had ever said or advised. One of the most gratifying pieces of information I received came from a former colleague of Jennifer's at the healthcare company. This colleague, who reached out to me through LinkedIn, explained that Jennifer had often used her supposed expertise in autism advocacy to be assigned to diversity and inclusion projects at work. She had received bonuses and recognition for her community involvement, and had even been featured in the company newsletter as an exemplary employee who was making a difference in the disability community. The irony is that she was literally profiting from pretending to advocate for people like your daughter, while her own kids were bullying her. The colleague wrote, "Management is taking this very seriously, because it goes against everything our company claims to stand for." But the call that truly mattered came Thursday evening. It was Brian. "Elena, we need to talk. Can you meet me for coffee?" We met at a small cafe near our home. Brian looked exhausted, as if he had not slept in days. "I owe you an apology," he began. "Several apologies, actually." I waited for him to continue. I watched the video again, really watched it this time, and I looked at some of the comments. His voice cracked. I saw our daughter being humiliated, and I saw strangers laughing at her. And I realized what you've been trying to tell me all along, which is that my family has been hurting Lily, and I've been letting them do it because I was too much of a coward to stand up to them. Brian told me that he had spent the past few days talking to people. His coworkers, some of our friends, even Lily's therapist. Everyone had told him the same thing. What happened to Lily was cruel and unacceptable, and my response was completely justified. "Lily is my daughter," Brian said, tears in his eyes. "She's my responsibility to protect, and I failed her. I failed you both." He told me that he had called his mother and sister and told them exactly what he thought of their behavior. He had demanded that Tyler delete the video and post a public apology. He had told Patricia that unless she was willing to sincerely apologize to Lily and commit to treating her with respect, we would not be attending any more family gatherings. "What did they say?" I asked. Brian laughed bitterly. "Mom hung up on me. Jennifer said I was choosing you over family." Tyler actually did post an apology, but only because his school threatened to suspend him if he didn't. "And how do you feel about that?" "I feel like I should have chosen my wife and daughter over those people a long time ago." That weekend, we sat Lily down and had an age-appropriate conversation about what had happened. We explained that her cousins had played a mean trick on her, and that it was not her fault. We told her that some people do not understand autism and sometimes say or do hurtful things, but that does not make those things okay. Lily listened carefully, then asked, "Are Tyler and Madison and Connor still my cousins?" "Yes, sweetheart, they're still your cousins, but we might not see them very much anymore." Lily considered this for a moment. "Is it because they were mean to me?" "Yes, baby, and because when we told the grown-ups that it hurt your feelings, they didn't seem to care about fixing it." Lily nodded solemnly. "That's not very nice." "No, it's not very nice at all. Will we still see Grandma Patricia?" Brian and I exchanged a look. "We don't know yet, Lily. Maybe someday if she learns how to be kinder to you." Lily seemed to accept this explanation. Children with autism often have a very clear sense of fairness and justice, and Lily understood that her cousins had been unfair to her. The aftermath of what became known in our community as the Instagram incident continued for weeks. Jennifer ended up losing her job after her employer concluded that her actions violated their diversity and inclusion policies. She attempted to rebuild her advocacy brand, but the autism community has a long memory when it comes to individuals who harm autistic people. Tyler faced consequences at school, including mandatory sensitivity training and community service hours with the local disability organization. Madison and Connor, being younger, received counseling and education about empathy and inclusion. Patricia eventually reached out through Brian, asking if we could put this all behind us for the sake of family harmony. Brian told her that any relationship with us would require a sincere apology to Lily and a commitment to treating her with respect. Patricia's response was that she shouldn't have to walk on eggshells around her own granddaughter. That was 8 months ago. We have not seen Brian's family since that Sunday dinner, and honestly, our lives have been much more peaceful without their toxic presence. Lily has continued to thrive at school and in her therapies. She talks about her cousins occasionally, usually to say that she hopes they learn to be nicer to people who are different. Brian has become a much more involved and protective father. He has joined several autism advocacy groups and has become genuinely passionate about defending neurodiversity and inclusion. He often says that while he regrets how things unfolded with his family, he does not regret that Lily now has the protection and advocacy she deserved all along. The local autism community embraced our story as an example of how crucial it is for parents to stand up for their children, even when it is difficult or uncomfortable. Several parents have told me that Lily's story gave them the courage to address similar situations in their own families. As for Jennifer, I heard through mutual acquaintances that she eventually found a new job, though not in the healthcare field. She has maintained a much lower profile online, and apparently no longer presents herself as an autism advocate. I do not know if she has learned anything from this experience, but I hope for her children's sake that she has. Looking back, I do not regret what I did. Some people have labeled my response excessive or vindictive, but I disagree. Jennifer had built a career and reputation on pretending to advocate for autistic individuals, while simultaneously allowing her children to bully my autistic daughter. The autism community deserved to know who she truly was. More importantly, Lily deserved to see that her parents would fight for her dignity and respect. She deserved to learn that her feelings matter, that bullying is never acceptable, and that there are consequences for treating people cruelly. The night I made that call to the autism advocacy organization, I was not thinking about revenge or payback. I was thinking about my daughter's tear-stained face and her confusion over why her family was laughing at her. I was thinking about all the other autistic children who might be hurt by people like Jennifer, who say one thing publicly while enabling cruelty privately. Lily is 7, and as we discussed the situation over the following days, she handled it with remarkable maturity for her age. She still has challenges, but she has learned to advocate for herself and to recognize when people are treating her unfairly. She knows that her autism makes her different, but not less valuable. Most importantly, she knows that her parents will always support her, no matter what. That Sunday dinner taught all of us important lessons. Lily learned that not everyone will treat her kindly, but that does not reflect on her worth as a person. Brian learned that protecting your child sometimes means making difficult choices about family relationships. And I learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do as a parent is to ensure there are consequences when someone hurts your child. The video Tyler posted that night was eventually removed from Instagram, but not before it served its purpose. It revealed to the world exactly who Jennifer and her family truly were behind the facade of advocacy and acceptance. It sparked conversations in our community about authentic allyship versus performative advocacy, and it taught many people that autism families are not to be trifled with. Some people still believe I went too far, that I should have handled it privately or within the family. But here is the thing about bullying. It thrives in private. It depends on victims being isolated and advocates remaining silent. The moment you expose it to the light and make it public, bullies lose their power. Jennifer had spent years building a platform that gave her influence and credibility in the autism community. She used that platform to present herself as a champion for autistic individuals, while teaching her own children that it was acceptable to mock and humiliate their autistic cousin. That kind of hypocrisy does not deserve to be handled quietly. It deserves to be exposed. Today Lily is flourishing. She has genuine friends who appreciate her unique perspective and quirky sense of humor. She is excelling in school and has developed a passion for art and science. She still asks about her cousins sometimes, but without the desperate longing she used to have for their acceptance. She has learned that she does not need approval from people who do not value her. Brian's relationship with his family remains strained, but he is at peace with the choices we made. He often tells people that he wishes he had protected Lily sooner, but he is proud that we eventually did the right thing. As for me, I have become something of an accidental advocate myself. Other parents in similar situations have reached out to me for advice on how to handle family members who do not respect their autistic children. I always tell them the same thing. Your child's dignity is not negotiable, and protecting them is worth whatever temporary discomfort it might cause with extended family. The autism community is stronger when we hold each other accountable. It is stronger when we refuse to let people profit from our children's struggles, while simultaneously contributing to their pain. And it is stronger when we make it clear that there are real consequences for harming the most vulnerable members of our community. That one phone call I made that night did not just change Jennifer's life. It changed our entire family's trajectory. It showed Lily that she matters, showed Brian what genuine advocacy looks like, and showed our community that fake allies will be exposed and held accountable. Sometimes, protecting the people you love requires you to be willing to sever ties with those who never should have been in your life in the first place. Sometimes love appears as quiet justice, delivered with proof and evidence. And sometimes the most powerful action you can take is simply to refuse to let cruelty go unnoticed and unchallenged. Today, Lily is still 7 years old, but she grows stronger every day. She is sleeping peacefully in her room right now, surrounded by her art projects and science books, secure in the knowledge that she is loved and protected. That is worth more than any family harmony built upon the foundation of her suffering. The video that was meant to humiliate her ultimately became the evidence that protected not just Lily, but potentially countless other autistic children, who might have been harmed by Jennifer's hypocrisy in the future. In the end, Tyler's cruel prank became the very thing that brought justice for his intended victim, and that, I believe, is the most poetic justice of all.